call it a computer, the diagnostic the diagnostic tool, you can easily delete that engine check. It's the same as if you're at home and you have got an alarm and your alarm goes off at night. You do not just turn off the switch for the alarm. You start wondering what is going on outside. Is there somebody who has triggered the alarm? Unfortunately, addictions usually are a way in which we deal with that bad feeling on the inside. We know something is going wrong, but instead of trying to find out and trying to find a solution to it, we run to something that helps us to put this alarm off. And so I'm going to use a hypothetical character. Maybe you might identify yourself with some of the examples that I'm giving. There's a young man
Rev, is it possible just show us how you are today, and you can take it off later on so that we can just
I will do that.
Finally, yeah, thank you.
I'll do that. This is how I am today. I'm not putting on my collar, but there you go. Let me get the collar in so that you can know I am the one. That is me.
Thank you, Rev.
Thank you. So, as I was saying, things can become really tricky in a home. Things can become so difficult that people find it difficult to cope with life. And so this is the situation that I'm trying to give an example with Cleophas. As a young man, he's 19 years old. He gave his life to the Lord a number of years ago. And he always feels, however, he's on the outside looking in. You know, even when he finds friends, he doesn't seem to fit in. He always feels as if others are enjoying themselves, and for him, he's not enjoying himself, that he's on the outside. He has a dad and a mom, but unfortunately, the father is too busy, overwhelmed with what he's doing at work, and the pressures of office do not allow him to spend enough time at home. So he has chosen work over the children. Unfortunately, also, the unfortunate things have happened at home that dad has a second wife, though he's a Christian. And so this is a secret that Cleophas has to hide when he goes to church. There are feelings of not being able to meet dad's stringent demands because dad is very, very strict. He has got ways he wants everything to be done. And that does not sort of affirm Cleophas. It doesn't make Cleophas feel, I value you, I love what you do. And then he's guilty also about wasting a lot of money that was given to him. Last semester, he did not pay school fees and he did not actually do the examinations. So he doesn't even know how he's going to give this to the parents. He feels overwhelmed by the demands of class, school, because there are unending courseworks and things that he needs to do. He feels that his spiritual life, his relational life, and his personal life has stagnated. He goes through the motions of living this life, but sometimes feels he wishes others would stop putting so much demands on him. He feels as if he has to do everything. He finds himself sometimes sad, not wanting to cry, but he does not know why he feels that way. And when this happens, he usually loses confidence in himself and starts now at times when you say something good to him, like, Cleophas, well done today. Instead of feeling happy, he feels sad on the inside. He feels as if there is something behind that was being said. Sometimes he feels so sad and says to himself, I wish I could go to sleep and not wake up. He's behind schedule with what he needs to do, personal deadlines. Sometimes he wishes there would be another pandemic so that he can rest a little. He feels anger towards his overbearing dad, who favors others over him. The dad sometimes compares him with one of the youngest kids they have at home, who is in primary 4, who scores 100. And the dad keeps asking, why can't you score like your kid brother does, and this makes him feel unappreciated. He was betrayed and let down by a close friend of his, and he has been in and out of rehabilitation, alcohol rehabilitation places 5 times. But wherever he goes there, somehow comes out a little bit better, but eventually becomes worse again. Within himself, he cannot shake the feeling that he's worthless, unlovable, and unlucky. Sometimes he feels that maybe there's a neighbor who is bewitching them. Otherwise, how do you explain how other people are doing well and I am not doing well? He avoids people and is more comfortable when he's isolated. Now, these are scenarios of things that can happen to one of the children in the home. And a lot of times, addictions do not begin from the thing that is addictive alone. They come from somewhere else. They come from an inner feeling of what somebody is going through. And at home, our mental health issues, there are a lot of mental health issues that can cause a person to become anxious. Anxiety is that fear, a fear about something is going to happen, something is happening, but I do not understand what exactly is happening. And the way things are, when you have got tension at home, when there's stress at home, then people become anxious. When the anxiety is too much, then they become depressed. They begin to feel, I cannot do anything. I cannot help it. And they give up. In their minds, they give up and they're not living. And so there are problems that come from that. There are a lot of things that we usually go through, and parents need to be careful about the way they speak. If you constantly are complaining, there's no money for rent, there's no money for school fees, I'm wasting a lot of money on this, all my food is going and all this. There's a way in which we depress the people and make them feel that they are a burden to you, that you'd have been happy if you did not have them. Children are depressed too. Most of them have insufficient sleep and a lot of homework. There are nursery school children who reach school at 6 a.m., but most children leave home by 5 a.m. and return at around 8 p.m. and do a lot of homework. And so children are stressed out. I was in a meeting in St. Luke's in Tinda, and when I spoke about that thing of some people who wish COVID would come back, some children actually said yes. They actually feel that they need a rest, that this is just too much for them. The struggle to win, to pass P7, to pass S4, to pass S6, to go to university, a good university, is causing a lot of anxiety for the children at home. So they never get rest. They never are actually children. They are living a life in their books as homework and nothing else apart from that. And parents too are anxious. Are my children going to be safe? Are they going to fall in company of bad-mannered children and friends? And so there's a lot of stress at home. But the biggest stressor that we have actually in life is us ourselves. If there is a judge who is judging us, who we actually should fear the most, it is me. I myself, I am the harshest judge that they can be. There's an inner conversation going on in my mind. When I keep quiet, there's that conversation goes on. Some of us who are born again, remember the time when you first gave your life to the Lord, how you'd wake up at night and there's this song playing in your mind. But at the end now, it seems that when we wake up at night, we are still in a conversation of how am I going to manage this difficulty? How am I going to do this? And this judge that is within us is telling us, you have not done well. You have failed. You could have done this better. You are not lovable. See how people look at you. And if you had been more serious, you'd have done this in a different way. And we judge ourselves. And this makes us feel bad about ourselves. So sometimes when people use drugs and alcohol, they are actually treating themselves of the bad feeling that they have within themselves, treating themselves of that failure to live that abundant life that God promises us. Sometimes we're treating ourselves because alcohol and drugs do that. They make you feel good about yourself. When you are feeling low, when you're feeling I'm unlovable, when you're feeling that you're useless, you drink some alcohol together with a university professor, and then you begin to feel as if you're equal to the university professor. And so there are times when we treat ourselves for the feeling of hopelessness within ourselves. Look, I have messed up my life. I cannot recover it. Look, I have grown too old. I'll never become of any use to anybody. Look, I've grown too old. Nobody will ever take me. Look, I feel unloved and unlovable. I feel compared to others. Nobody ever sees me for me, but they see me for others. I have never been felt that anybody has said anything good about me. I've never been affirmed. Nobody has ever patted me on the back and says, well done, that was really good of you. Not even my parents. And this is where the family needs to change a little bit in the way we handle each other, because sometimes we are the ones who drive each other into that place whereby we end up using. So I've never been affirmed. I've never been hugged. Olden day parents never knew how to hug their children. And so would let the children, recently I had a parent and the son who were going through addictions, and I was doing a family session with them. They both sat in front of me, but I could see the father was very uncomfortable. He had never been in a place with the son, quiet, and in a place whereby he could not shout at the son. So he did not know what to say. He did not know how to speak to his son. He actually did not know his son. I did a small work with them about what he knew about his son. And it's amazing. He knew nothing about his son. In providing for his son, he thought he had given his son everything, but he did not know his son at all. And this is really important for us. We really need to go. Some people feel they don't really appreciate me. When my brothers need a new shirt, they go and buy them a new shirt. But for me, because I'm the one who follows after them, when the other shirt no longer fits the other person, that is what I receive. So I receive the hand-me-downs all through my life. And that is a way in which it makes a person feel useless, feel I'm unloved. Maybe I was an accident. Maybe people didn't like me at all. Feeling that others are lucky and blessed, but I'm not. Why is it that others are able to do this and they do it well, and for me, I cannot? Feeling that we are under a microscope and we're being observed almost all the time. People are looking at us, waiting for us to make a small mistake. I'm feeling that sometimes even God is doing that, waiting for me to do a mistake, and then he will punish me. But our God is not like that. I need to qualify that now. Sometimes we become addicted because we love the feeling. There are plenty of things that are addictive. Today, when we were doing this, we read from Genesis, and we read the story of Noah. Noah got out of the ark, and he was the first farmer who planted vines. And then he got some of his vines, and as he got his vines, he drank from the fruit of the vines, and he got drunk. And he took off all his clothes and lay naked in his tent. Now, one of his children came in and said, "Come and see what our father, what has happened to our father." And the other children went to him backwards and covered him. And from that, some people were cursed in the Bible because of looking at the nakedness of their grandfather. But you see, the alcohol itself sometimes feels good. When Noah drank it, I think he felt good. There's a movie that's on TV that is called Animals Are Beautiful People. And they are shown eating the amarula fruit. But as they continue eating it, the amarula that would drop on the ground would ferment and become alcohol. And you can see animals getting drunk. For some, it's accidental for them to begin drinking and using drugs. But for some, it is just because they like it. They like it because it feels good. When you come to other drugs like marijuana and the rest, they help your mind to look differently. When you listen to sounds, you feel as if you can hold the sounds, and they're as if the sounds are solid. Colors seem to be making sounds within themselves, and everything seems to be upside down. Those of us who remember when we were young, we used to like turning around until we are dizzy and feeling the whole world is rotating around us. And sometimes this is what the drug does to us. That's why you see a lot of musicians do this, that it helps them to think in a different way altogether. So when we create the music, oddly, some people think, wow, this is interesting. I've never heard things like that. It's simply because it's coming from a mind that has been turned upside down. And sometimes this is why we get this. Sometimes it is by accident. You break your leg and you're given a drug called pethidine in the hospital, and before long you are addicted to the drug and you cannot give it up. You get into a group of friends and they tell you just take one sip, and you take one sip, and before you know what is happening, you are hooked and you cannot let go. Now, one of the things I usually tell people when I meet, especially in church groups, is that wine is also alcohol. And there are many homes where we have the alcohol. When you come to the drug and alcohol unit, when I usually do sessions in the drug and alcohol unit, the people who are there will tell you, these people brought me here, but it is them who need to be here. It's my parents who need to be here. They have a bar in the home, but they expect me to be sober. And sometimes that is the way, sometimes that is the way it is. Home can be tough because there are a lot of expectations. Expectation because of our roles. You are the father in the home, so you have to provide for the home. You are the mother, so yes, you also have to share that role. You have to provide and to do all these things. And sometimes this can become too much of a pressure on us that we find we cannot handle it anymore. The school children, we say academic pressure, but even parents now are studying, and this also puts pressure on the home. And then when the substances are available, when I speak of substances, I'm speaking about anything that can be addicted to. I'm speaking about things like alcohol. I'm speaking about marijuana. I'm speaking like even over-the-top medicines. Some of us are working with medicines everywhere. I have some Panadol. Every time I get a stomach ache, I pop a little bit of Fragile. And anything that you can abuse is a substance of abuse. And then even our phones can be abused, and also we can also become addicted to gambling. All of these are things that show that we are unable to control ourselves. We are tied and we are held. And depression too can take us. Even the social pressure, wanting to be like our neighbors, wanting to deal with things the way our neighbors are dealing. But all of us are different, and God is blessing us differently. And we each have different times, and God will bless us at our own times. We begin to get problems also when people are being treated, especially the children. A child who is 16 years old is still being treated like a 3-year-old. And if you came to the drug and alcohol unit, you will find that this is almost like the number one problem that they have with their parents. They don't listen to us. They don't allow us to say anything. We get a flat no, and you cannot argue with the parents' no. You cannot even put in a word sideways. And so there are adjustment issues when a child becomes a teenager, and he should be treated, the child at teenage should be treated a little bit different from the way you treat a toddler. And the one that is beyond that, the 17-year-old, in a different way. The young man, the older man, as long as they're living in your own home, need to be treated in a different way altogether. So because of the way life is, sometimes our systems are not helping us a lot. Long time ago, society used to help us and look after us and help to guide us, but now it's not there. Now, each man on his own, and then there's the church, but we'll talk about the church later. These are problems that exist, and they sometimes can drive us to a point where we find we cannot handle on our own. We need to switch off that light that is going on, that bad feeling within ourselves that makes us feel horrible about ourselves. Sometimes another reason why we get addicted is because we actually have a mental illness. I need to qualify a little bit that statement that was made earlier and what you saw in the newspaper. 30% of Ugandans have disorders. The figure might be small, might be high, but one of the things that we need is a lot of money for a broader study to be made all over the country. That study was limited to certain districts, certain areas, and certain demographic. So it doesn't properly relate to us. And when they say disorders, that means something different altogether. You can have a disorder, but you are not ill, mentally ill. What am I saying? If you fear heights, if you are like in a lift and you're all climbing on top of the roof and you feel so frightened, then you have a disorder called acrophobia. But that doesn't mean that you are sick. You'll come down from the ladder and you'll be okay. So the number of people who have disorders are even far much more than that. Almost everybody. There are people who fear cockroaches. There are people who fear and plenty of other things. There are other disorders too, like kleptomania. This is somebody taking things that they don't really need, like omsomba vyuma. They steal things, but they are not actually stealing. They don't need them, but they are just keeping them. Like at school, we had somebody who used to do that with pencils and rubbers and sharpeners. So what the school told us to do is don't bother him. Just what you do is when you need a pencil, just go to his case, pick out a pencil, use it. And that's what we'll do. We bring out a pencil, use it, and after we use it, we'll leave it where it is, and it would go back to where he was. He just used to take things like that. It's a disorder, but that doesn't mean that he's sick. And so we're saying sometimes we actually have a sickness. We are going through serious depression, or we have a mental condition that we are trying to treat. That within ourselves we don't feel like we are like other people. We feel we are crazy, and we don't know why we don't fit in. And sometimes we need to treat ourselves. So a good number of people, when they come to the hospital, that's the first thing they do. They check whether there is an existence of another mental disorder that is being covered by this alcoholism. That the alcoholism is not the cause of the problem, but this is the result of trying to treat yourself from what is going wrong. And then there are a lot of things that worry us. The future, how is the future going to be? Will I still have a job? Are they going to chase me away as they're chasing people in other places? And then also there's poor sleep. Our poor sleep forces us to get stressed. And because we are stressed, that increases chances that we'll become depressed, we'll become deadlines. And so we end up in those problems of having of not knowing where to be, what to do and where to be. So alcohol itself is a very big problem. More than 3 million deaths worldwide. Tobacco, more than 7 million deaths directly and indirectly. And then others, there are plenty. In USA, for instance, opioids. These are the drugs that cause people to have that twisted mind. Over 130 people die every day. Our statistics here are poor. I cannot quote them. The gambling is also another thing that happens in the country, and a lot of people are addicted to this. There's an excessive use of the phone. The smartphone is an addiction also. We might pretend as if we are the father in the home, so we have the right to do this. But it's called nomophobia, the fear of being without your mobile phone. There are other addictions where a person wants to please themselves, also called hypersexuality. I will not speak much about that one now. But the reason why we cannot help each other and help people in our homes is because we do not understand addictions properly. And there are some myths that they are about addiction. And I'll mention a few. One is that people believing that addiction is a choice. Why can't you get better? Why can't you change yourself? I've given you this and this and this. Why can't you do well? Addiction is not a moral failing. It is a chronic disease that requires medical and professional help. Some people think addicts are weak and lack character. You should come and visit me in Butavika and I'll show you addicts who are brighter than you are, who have very strong character in other areas, and who are stronger than you physically. Some people think, wow, an addict can quit anytime they want to, that there's an on-off switch. There's no on-off switch. There are people who are struggling with addictions over and over and over again and are failing. Some people think that an addict first has to hit rock bottom before we can help them. And so in the homes, we hear people saying, you just leave him. When he reaches rock bottom, then he will need our help, and then we can help him. No, we can start wherever the person is and get help for the person. Some people feel that it's only illegal drugs that are addictive. Even drugs that are not illegal are addictive. Even on the top of the top counter, drugs are illegal. I don't usually give a list of the drugs, and I won't, that you can get addicted to, but there are plenty of them that can even give you a high. There are plenty of them, and you can get addicted to them. But also, our phones, as we were speaking about, people who say, I'm going to sleep at 10 p.m. and before they know what is happening, it's 2 a.m. because they were watching Instagram and learning new things from Instagram. People think that addicts are complete write-offs and they will never lead a productive life. And so here I want to pause and tell you that I had a problem too with alcohol in my life. I struggled with alcohol and addiction to cigarettes. But in 1987, the Lord just came into my life. He saved me, and I have never looked back. For me, it was Christ. Christ came and helped me. For some, Christ will help, but also some extra step has to be done to help the person to get out of this. Some people believe that one treatment can help all. So-and-so's son went to that place and they helped him. Why are you not changing? Unfortunately, each individual gets addicted for issues that pertain to him as an individual. And unless you touch those issues themselves, there's no solution. So however many rehabs the person goes to, however many times he goes, until they have touched the part that really is affecting him, there will be no change in the person's life. Some people think that if a person has relapsed, has gone back to using the addictive substance, then the treatment has failed. No, relapse is part of the treatment and it works. Some people think that addiction only affects the individual who is addicted. No, the whole family is affected. When there's a family of people who one person is addicted in the family, the whole family is a sick family. All of them need treatment because the way the person behaves causes them to adapt behaviors that can help them to survive with him. We begin to hide everything. We begin to run away from people, especially if they're the parents who come in addicted and drunk and messing up the home. We begin to feel terrible about this brother of ours who does not make his bed, whose room is stinking, who comes in totally wasted, and who doesn't seem as if he's going to make a living for himself. Sometimes we also believe that we can spot an addict by appearance. Unfortunately, this is not true. There was a song that somebody sang, Bayuda Tuita Nabo. Some of the addicts, we move with them, even in church circles, we are living with addicts. People who are addicted to pornography, people are addicted to alcohol and drugs. We see them when they have polished themselves up. And when we see their red eyes, we think, maybe that's how their clan is. And we don't notice. Sometimes it's difficult for us to tell about this. There is the greatest myth of all that we find in church circles, and is that those who know Christ can't get addicted. Unfortunately, you need to come and visit us in Butavika and see people who are born again. That has caused some people to say, maybe some people are not born again completely, not solidly born again. And I don't see how somebody can be solidly born again. Being born again is accepting Christ in your life. making amends and decisions that you're going to live the life that is and allow Christ to take care of your life. But still you remain with issues in your life. You still remain with as a human being. And as long as you're a human being, this is what we say about mental illness also. As long as you're a human being, you can get mentally ill. And as we said, addictions, especially alcoholism and drug addictions, are a sickness. It comes from that part where a sickness, and it doesn't matter how saved you are, you can still get sick. Sometimes we feel that people who are addicted were bewitched by somebody, and then we start thinking of a neighbor to blame for the addiction. Unfortunately, this is not true. Even in the Bible, there are references of addiction. I started off with Noah, and you can read of this in Genesis chapter 9, verse 20 to 21, where Noah became drunk and exposed himself. There's another person called Lot. Lot was a nephew of Abraham, but the book speaks about him getting intoxicated and engages in things that he shouldn't have engaged with his own daughters. Genesis 19, 30 to 38. We also think here of Nabal in the book of 1 Samuel. Nabal is portrayed as this wealthy but foolish man who was known for his excessive drinking. That you can find that one in 1 Samuel 25, 36 to 38. His behavior led to his own downfall and eventually to his death. The book of Proverbs warns us about the dangers of excessive drinking. In Proverbs 20, verse 1 is telling us the same thing, 23, and a lot of scriptures tells us about that. So these are some of the scriptures that show us that even people who are close to God, who are after God's heart, can also get problems, can also fall in this. So there are factors that exist even within the home. I come back to this. I said it earlier. There are factors that can cause us to be addicted. One of them is genetic factors. Sometimes the addictive tendency is within the family. But this is not completely true, because some studies have been done with twins and found that one twin became addicted and another did not become addicted. So on top of the genes themselves, there are also other, they make you susceptible to addictive behavior. But if you have got a good environment, there's a chance that you will not get addicted. There are some people I know who are even listening to me right now who have never touched alcohol at all, who have never touched drugs at all, who do not like their phones, actually abandon their phones wherever, who don't seem to be addicted to anything. But we all have our problems. The environment itself has a part it plays also. Exposure to substance abuse within our family and peer groups causes us to want to use. And sometimes adverse childhood experiences, like those I mentioned earlier of this young man, Cleophas. Cleophas went through pain. The pain of not being accepted by his dad, and all of these other things, not being accepted in the groups that he's in. His closest friend left him, which sort of made him feel, okay, this is what happens to me. Now happens to me. Anything good happens to me ends up leaving me. And because of those traumatic experiences, a person finds himself predisposed to this. Sometimes, as I said, mental conditions can also cause us to want to drink, but also the addictive substance like alcohol can cause us mental illnesses. Sometimes it's our brain chemistry and neurobiology. Sometimes we are born when we cannot feel happy at all. They call it unipolar depression. So all through our lives, we are going through and we find people laughing and we can't imagine, why are these people happy? Why is it I don't feel the same way as them? You go for a play, you watch it, everybody around you is laughing, and for you spend most of the time looking at the people watching the play and wondering what they are finding that interesting in it. And people like those need to get a small bit of something in them to make themselves feel good. That's why you see maybe most of our boarders do those funny things of spinning on their boarders in front of a car as it is moving, maybe to get a bit of adrenaline so as to feel good. That's why maybe people do bungee jumping and rock climbing and paragliding and those very dangerous things. That's why some people want to watch horror movies and something to get their adrenaline moving. Social factors also are important. Sometimes I remember when I started smoking, the reason is that I wanted to be like a man. I wanted to be considered a big person. There was, first of all, that person, the Marlboro man. He was a man who was on a horse and looked very cool riding his horse, and he had a beautiful hat. And I wanted to be like that man. But you see, I wanted to be seen as big. So in my S1, what I did is I started buying cigarettes for the older children to teach me how to smoke. And sometimes we say the people who are addicted are actually weak, but I'm telling you, it is very hard work learning how to deal, learning even how to get addicted. Cigarettes are not good, and you'd tell that every time you'd get sick, you'd not want to smoke, but you'd teach yourself how to smoke again. So peer pressure and other toxins, toxic substances within the community and within ourselves. And within ourselves can mess us up. So how do we overcome addictions? It can be done. First of all is recognizing that we can't do it alone, that there's a higher power, there's God, and God is the one who helps us to be able, can help us to get out of this. All our problems, he says, Christ tells us to bring our burdens to him, and he'll help to take our yoke, his yoke upon ourselves, for his burden is light. And so this is one of the way. But first of all, we have to recognize and acknowledge the problem. The unfortunate thing that there is a lot of times people are struggling in their own homes, and there's silence in the homes. People do not recognize that they are addicted. I remember a time when I took somebody's child to hospital. I'm telling you, they were not very happy with me. They said he will get okay. It's not a big people. He's only having a lot of problems because his wife left him, but he's okay. Unfortunately, this person here, after being withdrawn from the hospital, he went and he unfortunately overdosed and passed on. Some of you know that story, so I'm not going to mention names. So seeking professional help is a good thing. God has raised within us professionals who can help you to get rid of this addiction, and it's necessary. Build supporting networks within our families where we can help. When there's a child who is having a problem, have an uncle who you know, I can send this boy to the uncle. There are difficult things that we cannot talk about. Maybe the uncle can talk through it with him. Find friends of the family that last. And this is a very important thing, that we need friends in our lives. We need support within our lives, and we need to grow. One of the biggest problems, as I said earlier, is that there's the conversation and talk within the family is really limited. People don't talk. We pass each other, and now we are stuck on our phones. Sometimes we get the message from our family WhatsApp group, and that's how we talk at home. Dinner is ready, and then that's how people come down for dinner. And even at table, the people are busy WhatsApping while they eat. We need to find a way in which we can start talking, and really talking and listening. The relationship with children and parents needs to grow closer, so that the communication can be real communication, that we listen, the parents listen and really listen, and the children speak and really speak. Once the children learn how to trust you and trust what you say, then they will be able to now begin to confide in you about things that are troubling them, and we can deal with the things in time, that they will not need to go for the addictive thing. We need to have a wonderful sleep routine for everybody. This business of sitting down to watch TV up to 1:30, we need to find a way in which we can encourage everybody to get to their beds and sleep sufficiently. We need to make our meals the right kind of meals, so that because the better the meal, the more chances you'll be healthier, and the healthier you are, the more chances you'll resist. The depression will be less, and you will not need to have the drugs and alcohol to help you feel good. To help people to learn coping mechanisms. Sometimes we overshield people. Instead of teaching them emotional intelligence, we shield them too much. We are the ones who remind them to do their homework. We are the ones who remind them to do everything. So we take the responsibility upon themselves. And when the time comes to cope for themselves, they cannot handle it anymore. So teaching people how to cope, and the Bible is good. It's mentoring us as we read of it every day, as we read our Bible and grow every day. To avoid triggers, learning what triggers you. There are some people who drink and smoke and use these addictive substances when they're excited. When I'm very happy, my team has beat the other team, then I find myself wanting to drink. Sometimes when I'm sad, my team got beaten, then I drink. So we look for the triggers and avoid them. Some people drink because it is evening now, I don't know what to do with my life, so I go out and join my friends. So finding ways in which we can fill our lives with things that work. Church is a beautiful place to be. Join a choir, join a prayer meeting, and be there, and that will help you. Find a way of building your self-esteem and speaking to yourself words that really build. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Those kinds of affirmation help to build our self-esteem. That when you're going to throw something horrible into that place that you're fearfully and wonderfully made, you'll think twice about it. We need also to find a way in which we can begin to realize that God has really blessed us. And that is finding a way in which we can espouse an attitude of gratitude. When we remember the things God has done to us, the Bible, the song we used to sing, I think it's even in scripture, that count your blessing, name them one by one. Once we begin to count them, then we begin to see how blessed we are, how the Lord is part of our life, how he moves with us. And that will help us also to stand stronger and turn to him who gives us the strength to turn. Practice forgiveness, because unforgiveness is like, somebody said once, it's like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die. Now, the thing is, when we carry that person all around, it makes us feel bad on the inside. While the person is not even aware that bad things are happening within you, you are carrying this person. Sometimes you want this bad feeling to go away, and the easiest way to do the wrong way, use a drug that will help you to forget. That's what is in Proverbs. Give wine and the rest of it to people who are perishing, those ones who are depressed, because and the reason why you say that is these people feel horrible about themselves. But as a Christian, we shouldn't feel like that. Christ came so that we can have life and life abundant. Help people to get to that point where they begin to feel, especially our fellow family members, help them to feel important in our lives, help them to feel that they are loved, help them to feel that they are part of the family and that you value them. Can you remember a time when you told all your family members, I care for you, I love you, I appreciate why you do this? Do we go around building our family members and helping them to feel good about being members of that family? Or sometimes are our words so bitter that they are like a sword that cuts so deep in the marrow and make other people feel bad? Have we got words that make other people feel and our family members feel that they are worthless? And the only way they can feel good again is by taking drugs and alcohol. Help them to build their self-esteem, and that is what you are a family member for. You are there to hold each other so that together we can build a kingdom of Christ, and together we can march into heaven. We need to commit to change, have a change in our life. If we have not been paying attention to each other, not making other people feel appreciated, not listening to others, not giving space to others to shine. You know, one of the problems some of us have is some of us are very talkative. And when we start talking, we don't give room to others. People just have to find a way in which they can put in a word or two edgewise, but we domineer. Can we make a change in our lives that we allow others to shine, to feel good about themselves and feel good? Some of us are so good, expert at anything. They say a jack of all trades. We are good sportsmen, we are good musicians, we are good preachers, we are good prayer warriors, we are good everything. And we make the rest of the people in our family feel small. Can we give a chance to others, even when we feel that we wanted to show off to our family members, that will hold back so that other family members too can begin to shine? And this will help people to grow to a stage where they're needed. So educate ourselves. If it is your loved one who is having a problem, educate yourself about that particular drug is using and the effects and how it's going to help them. Show understanding and empathy. Do not look at them like a mess. Usually what we get to hear is, let's take him to Butabika so that he can suffer. Nobody is ever helped by punishing them. It is understanding and empathy that will show the person that they are loved, and then will help them to commit to making a change in their life. Avoid enabling behaviors. Don't give your children too much money. When a child has too much money, they'll find innovative ways in which they can waste it. So if you give your child school fees of 4 million shillings per term, you will end up with an addict, and it will be you who has spoiled them. And when somebody has a problem, it's unkind not to trust them enough with money, but it's the best thing for them. Every time that they need something, ask them to give you a shopping list and you do the shopping for them, or send somebody else to hold the money while they go, until they're in a better space where they can handle money and can be trusted with it. Provide a sober environment. Do not drink and expect that the rest of the family will be sober. Do not take wine and deceive yourself that it's not alcohol and expect that your children will not graduate from that wine and go to something stronger. Love your people unconditionally. Even those who have failed, those who have fallen, still love them. And make them know it's easy for us to love, but it's easier for us to love, but the people that we are loving do not know that we love them. Make it clear to them that you love them. Work through them. Tell them about it. Give them gifts. Show them that you are there all the time for them. Take them out and do good things for them. And that will help them to know that you really love them. Offer practical support for them where they have difficulties, and set healthy boundaries. Be a positive role model in the family. All of us can be positive role models. Even the children can be role models for the adults. Seek support for yourself if you have a problem, and monitor regularly what is going on. Do not be afraid of monitoring. If you are the parent in the home, it doesn't hurt you once in a while to step in your child's room to check if there are small pieces of marijuana or empty bottles of alcohol. Do not deny or minimize the problems, and help us to grow. So there are other Bible-based solutions. I'll quickly try and give this to us. Philippians 4:13. This one says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This verse reminds us it is God who gives us strength, even in overcoming addictions. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he'll also provide a way out so that you can endure it. This verse reassures us that God will never allow us to be tempted beyond our ability to resist, and has provided a way for us to overcome temptation. Psalm 34:17-18. The righteous cry out and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in the spirit. This passage reminds us that God hears our cries for help and is near those who are struggling. He offers deliverance and comfort to those who turn to him. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I'll uphold you with my righteous right hand. This verse reminds us that God is always with us, providing us with strength, help, and support in time of difficulty. In time of difficulty. And then eventually, lastly, I'll use this one, James chapter 4, 7 to 8. Submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. This verse reminds us of the importance of submitting to God, of resisting temptation, of drawing near to him in pursuit of freedom from addiction, and he'll help us. Let's not be afraid to be different from the others. This is one of the lessons that we need to teach our children. Romans 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Do not be afraid of walking differently from what others do. So that by the time your children go to university, they'll see other people drinking, they'll see other people doing all these things, but they'll be able to stand because they have learned this lesson. Thank you very much for listening. Back to you.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.